Long time ago, before cities had walls, before animals feared humans, and before the sky divided into day and night, the world was different. In that time, the sun and the moon lived side by side, like twin flames in the sky. They rose together, danced across the heavens, and set together behind the tall mountains that wrapped the earth like an ancient necklace. They were the greatest of companions, but also the most opposite. The sun was bold, loud, proud, and always the first to speak. His laughter echoed like thunder, and his rays warmed the land, making seeds wake and rivers sparkle. The moon, on the other hand, was gentle, calm, silent, and thoughtful. She glowed rather than blazed. She whispered where the sun roared. She listened where he shouted. And though she was often silent, her silence held secrets the world was not ready to hear. The people of the land, the animals, and even the trees loved them both. They called them the sky keepers, for with them in the sky, balance was kept. But balance can be fragile. One year, the elders of the 4 great tribes, the Bantu of the river, the Zulu of the mountains, the Igbo of the forest, and the Mole of the desert, declared a festival of gathering. It was to be the greatest celebration the world had ever known. Stories would be told. Drums would thunder like war. Dancers would paint the ground with their feet. Even the stars were said to be preparing to dance that night. The sun and moon were invited to bless the event with their light. But this time, only the sun agreed to shine. The moon refused. She stayed hidden behind the clouds, dim and cold, as if she had taken the joy of the night and buried it deep within the sky. The people were confused. Some were angry. Some whispered that perhaps the moon was jealous of the sun's glory. But the elders knew better. And they feared what the silence meant. You see, days before the festival, something had happened, something the world did not witness, but the winds carried whispers of. The sun, in all his pride and power, had insulted the moon. It began as a small disagreement. A debate about who shone brighter, who was more needed by the people. The sun laughed. "You are only noticed because I live," he said. "Without me, who would even look for you?" The moon replied softly, "Without darkness, your light would have no meaning." But the sun was not in the mood for riddles. His fire burned hotter that day. So hot, in fact, that deserts cracked, rivers shrank, and even the great baobab trees curled their leaves. That evening, as the moon rose to take her place beside the stars, the sun refused to set. He lingered longer, brighter, stealing the twilight that belonged to her. Children waited for the moon to appear, but she never came. The sky stayed burning red until the stars hid in shame. And when the moon finally rose, she did so in silence, dim, distant, humiliated. That was the night something in her changed. For 3 nights, the moon did not rise. The elders panicked. The hunters couldn't track prey. The fishermen of the river missed their paths. Babies cried at night without the moon's coming glow. The people began to plead to the heavens. But the moon did not answer. Instead, she hid behind dark clouds, her glow reduced to a pale whisper. The sun continued to shine, pretending all was well, pretending he did not notice her absence. But he did. He always had. On the 7th day, the sky shook. A great storm rose from the east, winds howled like spirits, and lightning cut through the clouds like knives of the gods. Then came a voice. Not from the earth. Not from the sky. But from between. It was the voice of Naya, the spirit of balance. She had not spoken in 1,000 years. "Sun and moon," Naya roared, "your pride and pain now split the sky. From this day forth, you shall not rise together again." The people trembled. The animals ran. Even the mountains echoed the words. Naya continued. "Sun, you shall rule the day, and your fire will guide their walk. Moon, you shall guard the night, and your calm will guard their dreams. But only one shall shine at a time. Never again shall you share the sky. And with that, the world changed. Day and night were born. After Naya's powerful decree, the world adapted. The people lived with the sun's blazing days and the moon's quiet nights. Life, for the most part, was calm, but a sense of loss lingered. Yet there were whispers of something more. One evening, deep in the forest of the Igbo people, a curious young girl named Chinyo was sitting by the river. She watched the reflection of the stars and the moon in the water. She had heard the elders speak often of the moon's retreat and the pain in her silence, but Chinyo believed there was more to the story. Her grandmother, the elder of their village, had never spoken about the true reasons for the moon's retreat. And Chinyo's heart burned with the need to know the truth. That night, as the moon's glow touched the land, Chinyo did something no one in the village dared. She called out to the moon. "Moon, moon, why do you hide? What is the truth of your silence?" For a long moment, nothing happened. The river rippled gently, the winds calmed, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Then, softly, the moon spoke. Not aloud, but in the quiet rustle of the leaves, the faint whisper in the wind. "Chinyo, you are brave to ask. But some truths come at a cost. Are you willing to hear it?" Chinyo, full of courage and curiosity, nodded her head. She had heard the stories, but now she saw the deeper one, the one buried under pride and pride alone. "I am ready," Chinyo whispered. The moon continued, her voice a gentle hum. "The truth of my silence is not one you will find easily, nor one the elders wish to speak. The sun and I, we were once more than companions. We were two halves of a whole, created by the ancient gods to bring balance to the world. But one day, the sun's pride blinded him. He began to grow stronger, brighter, louder. He began to think that without him, the world would be lost." Chinyo's heart raced. She listened intently. He thought he could shine forever. He thought he could swallow the night whole. But what the sun did not understand was that darkness was not his enemy. Darkness was his partner, for in darkness, the seeds of life grow. In darkness, the heart beats its true rhythm. In darkness, the stories are born. Chinyo's mind swirled with thoughts. The moon's words echoed in her heart, but she still did not understand why she refused to come out early, why she had stayed hidden all these years. The moon, sensing Chinyo's confusion, continued. "When the sun insulted me and refused to let me rise, I did not vanish from the sky because of pride. No. I vanished because I realized something: the balance between light and dark had been broken. The sun was no longer my equal. He was no longer my companion." At this, Chinyo felt her heart sink. She had heard the stories of how the sun and moon had once shared the sky. She had always thought the sun's strength was the reason the moon remained so calm, so distant. But now, it seemed there was much more to it than she had imagined. "I did not refuse to shine, Chinyo," the moon said, "I chose not to. If I return to the sky early, I may make the same mistake again. And that, my child, is something I will never do. Not until the balance is restored." The moon's words struck Chinyo to her core. She had been searching for the wrong answers all along. But there was more. The moon finally shared a secret only a few had known. The ancient gods had created not just the sun and the moon, but a third force, the spirit of balance, a spirit that was meant to ensure harmony between light and dark. But as time passed, the spirit had grown weak, and the world began to tilt toward one side. The sun's hunger for power had caused the imbalance. And now, the only way the moon could return fully was if balance was restored, if the spirit of balance was awakened. But awakening the spirit would be no easy task. As Chinyo sat, the moon's voice faded. She was left alone on the riverbank, thinking deeply. A decision had been made, a path was now clear. The next night, the moon rose full and bright, but she did not appear alone. Beneath her glow, Chinyu could see the faint outline of a figure, a spirit, glowing with soft blue light, its eyes full of ancient wisdom. The spirit stepped toward her, smiling gently. "You are brave, Chinyu. But are you wise enough to restore balance?" Chinyu stood tall, even though her heart pounded in her chest. "I will do what I must," Chinyu said firmly. "Then follow me," the spirit replied. For the next several nights, Chinyu traveled with the spirit. She journeyed through forests, over rivers, across deserts, and even into the heart of mountains. Each trial she faced, whether it was darkness swallowing her path or light blinding her vision, she overcame. Through each trial, Chinyu grew stronger, wiser. Until finally, one night, the spirit of balance led her to a great stone altar at the center of the earth. There, with one final ritual, she called forth the spirit. And in that moment, as the balance was restored, the sun and moon were once again allowed to rise together, not as rivals, but as equals. Chinyu stood before the altar, watching the sun set and the moon rise. This time, there was no pride, no competition. The sky was at peace, and so were the hearts of the people. The moon's soft glow kissed the earth, and for the first time in many seasons, she smiled, knowing that balance had returned. Small orange diamond. The moral of this calls for a deeper understanding of the balance we need in life, the danger of pride, and the importance of respecting others. It teaches us that sometimes withdrawal is necessary for growth, and that unity, despite differences, is the foundation of harmonious existence. The story reflects that, much like the sun and moon, we each have a role to play, and when we acknowledge the importance of balance, respect for one another, and humility, we create a more fulfilling life. Just as the moon and the sun have their distinct roles in the universe, you have your own unique role to play. Embrace your purpose, respect the differences around you, and always remember the power of balance. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with others, and invite them to reflect on how they can apply these lessons in their lives.